Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pause for Payments. My name is Kristy Duncan, and I am absolutely delighted to be chatting here today with Rachel Hansen, who's Payments Technology Business Information Officer at US Bank, Elavon Payments Technology, based in Denver. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, nice to see you, and it's good to be here today.
Indeed. So today, Rachel and I are going to talk about what it's like to have a career in tech and technology, and it's one of my pet topics, being the engineer that I am. Statistics show that we've got a long way to go to reach gender parity, especially in tech fields. And a lot of women actually report, and this is so common, that in meetings and in their work environments in technology, that they're often outnumbered by a ratio of 2-to-1, sometimes even 5-to-1 for 26% of women in tech fields, according to one study. This vast underrepresentation can be a hindrance to women's success, limits their sponsorships and mentorship opportunities, and fosters an unconscious bias in their company culture. So ultimately, this situation leaves many women without a clear path to advance their careers. Rachel, can we start this discussion by telling the audience about Elavon's Payments Technology Group, but also your role there and what your current focus is?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, I'm very excited to talk about the payment technology within US Bank and Elavon. My role is to lead the technology, software development, and support of the technology systems across all of US Bank payment technology. And Elavon is one division that I'm extremely excited about. We support all of the software development, all the engagement on the systems, and really provide that connection between business partners who advocate constantly for our customers down to implementing it through a technical stance. So that's really the role that we play.
Fantastic. So let's step back a few years and talk about how you got into technology and how you've progressed, talk a little bit about your career journey in tech.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. So I started out my career with an intent to go into math. I started out as a math major in college, and within the second semester, I happened to take an elective of a computer programming course. I took that elective purely just to understand what it was about, and I fell in love with it. And as soon as I completed that course, I switched my major over, and I haven't looked back since. I will tell you that it's a very good career, and it's been a career in which I haven't second guessed wanting to do something else because of the opportunities and because of the aspect that it brings. So that's really the way in which I got into computer technology.
And you built this amazing career based on your passion. Can you talk a little bit about your career journey after you got out of school and how you got from there to where you are today?
I definitely will do that. So I know that sometimes it is hard to get into a field if you don't have experience. So the way in which I did this was I was actually still in my degree, and I was working for a company, an airline company, in their call center to pay for my college. And I went to the computer department and said, I really want to get into this career. I'm getting a degree. And their response was, you don't have any experience yet. So I did get creative, in which I went back to them and offered to do projects on the side. And within 2 weeks, they really, said, move into our department. We are endorsing, helping you get this experience. Now, that's not the way everyone should tackle it, but I will tell you the learnings that I have is be persistent about pursuing your career and your path, and you do have to get creative at times to get into that experience, but when you have a intentional plan to get into that experience, that's exactly what drives every career forward, is moving forward with an intention. That led me then to continually stay in the field. My first position was writing Java software, and I loved it. And I didn't look back. I since then moved into leading engineering teams. But the heart and the core at which an engineer is all about is it's about solving problems. It's about being able to be innovative. It's about being able to provide an asset that connects the dots and creates an ability for customers to do what needs to be done. And in this day and age, technology is at the heart of every single business out there. And it has progressed significantly since I got into this field to even be more at the heart of businesses.
Fantastic. This is so informative, and I love that fact that your tech background is technology, but it's also about solving problems and getting creative on solving everyday real life problems. So, okay, so we talked a little bit about your career path. I'm always curious to know, what does your typical day look like? You start at a certain time and you finish at a certain time. And what fills the hours between your start and your finish?
The typical day for an engineer and a software development team is all centered back at, I think, what most engineers thrive on, and that is being able to be creative, being able to be innovators, and being able to be empowered to build something that accomplishes for the customer and accomplishes the needs. And, there's a lot of day-to-day activities of being involved in understanding requirements, understanding the feature needs, but the really portion of the day should be spent on being able to build the software that's needed. As a leader of engineers, a lot of our positions are really centered around helping and bridging and supporting those conversations, as well as the constant day-to-day, leading of efforts.
So great. I love how you dovetail the creativity with the technology and the engineering, because a lot of people wouldn't think of engineers and tech people as being creative. But I agree, to solve some of these problems in day-to-day life, that the technology can do it, but if you're creative with it, it can do it more effectively and perhaps more quickly and more eloquently. So you've had this fantastic career, Rachel, and I want to understand a little bit and share with the audience. You talked about starting off as a Java programmer. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And how has your career changed over the years from those early days to now?
Yeah, so I was a Java engineer and, a multiple language engineer for multiple years, probably about 7 years, but I did move into leading software engineering teams. My my career path progressed mostly because of a need to ensure that we have the right support and leadership across our engineering teams. And that's what drove me to be really into this specific leadership career. I'm passionate about our engineers. I'm passionate about empowering them to be able to be creative and innovative. When you have that type of environment, that is when you have the most effective, powerful environment, as well as accomplishes the best structure for our businesses and our company and payments in particular. So that's really how my career progressed, and why I really pushed in progressing it in that angle, just because I'm passionate about what engineer teams are able to do and giving them the right structure to allow for that empowerment and innovation.
I love that. I love the passion and how that's coming through. Can you tell us a little bit about how the technology itself has changed over that time.
Yeah, I would say that the biggest thing that I've noticed is the continual and more evasive importance of technology. You know, if you look at today's world, technology is such a major component with every business. The way in which the presence of technology is an absolute must in almost every business. And backtrack 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, it wasn't as prevalent. And that is it's a key message, I think, for everyone is the value and the need to have a very strong technical stance. And that's, I think, the biggest thing I would emphasize is it's gotten even more and ever so important. And I think that will continue to progress across the next years. It's hard to do anything without having technology at the heart of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And many people have said that financial services is more a technology field than anything. And I know a lot of the payment networks are considering themselves, calling themselves technology companies. And
Mhm.
really, without the technology to effect and do all of the things that they do, they would be nowhere. Be back to the Middle Ages with ledger sheets,
Yes.
heaven forbid. So you've got this great career, and I want to get you to maybe share with our rising stars in our audience what advice you might give to them if they're considering a career in tech. What do you wish you knew 30 years ago or 20 years ago when you were starting your career?
There's a couple things I would advise. I would strongly advise to lay out an understanding of the career path that you want to go down. Now, you won't always follow that step by step. In fact, I don't know a single person who has followed it step by step. But what it does do is it gives you a roadmap, it gives you a vision. And I would always advise that you, first of all, have your vision. And then, secondly, I'd advise that you really are persistent. Be intentional about taking those steps to progress in the career. And for me, I would strongly encourage progress in the technology career because of the great career that it is, but be intentional about progressing in that. Um, when you have opportunities to ensure to voice your feelings, make sure and socialize that. Voice that with leaders around you. Make sure they understand where you want to go, what you want to do with your career, and be an advocate for yourself. And when you are an advocate for yourself, those surrounding you will be an advocate for you too. That having that knowledge is really sometimes key for those around you to really support that. The final thing I would say is don't be concerned about experiencing different things. So I oftentimes say to my team, if you put me in a room with 10 windows, but you tell me only that I can look out of one window and I can only lead one team or I can only sit in one position, then I'm not going to be the employee, the visionary, the innovative person that you want me to be. If I can experience different teams, I can experience different situations, I'm going to be even better for that. And I strongly advise that take the opportunity to experience different situations that will add to your career growth.
I love that. Building your own diversity of perspective and experience, and it builds your own depth of knowledge and appreciation for not only the technology, but the different stakeholder perspectives, the customers, the technology, the internal stakeholders, etc. That's great advice, Rachel. So we've talked about careers and we've talked about tech. I wanted to talk a little bit about how you see technology advancing in the future and what this might, how this might impact tech careers going forward.
So, as we talked about a few minutes ago, it's going to get continually be even more present. I really feel as I've mentioned multiple times, it's really hard to not have technology at the center of products and businesses these days, because of everything is a technical world, and it's going to get even more prevalent. What excites me about being in the payments technology US Bank Elevon space is the fact that we have at the top of the house two priorities out of the top 5 priorities of our company are centered around things that really are an awesome thing to be in the payments technology space. One is the payments growth of that division, of our payments division. There's an awful lot of payments growth going on right now because of the importance of payments. And that in itself is exciting. But secondly, there's a very intentional effort to modernize technology. And for every engineer, that's exciting. That's exciting to be in a space where there is intention, momentum to modernizing technology and a very intent purpose, effort going on. And we have so many things going on right now on technology modernization. We have the cloud migration strategies. We have moving into more modular architecture that allows us to increase the speed to market. We have modernization of the way we work, as we take it very seriously to look at and ensure that we function as a high-end software shop and high-end software technology department, and where we're looking at continually modernizing the way we work and using the right methodologies and processes. And those items alone excite me a lot about being in the spot in payments technology today.
Yeah, I love that. So, so true, Rachel. I love that 2 of the 5 key priorities for US Bank Elevon are focused on payments and technology. Payments are important, and it's such a dynamic, amazing place to be right now. We're all modernizing technology if we haven't already done so, and doing so with intent. And when you look at some other markets, China, for example, how incredibly advanced they are with the technology and how they don't sit on their laurels. They don't build the technology and come back to update it 20 years later. They build it and rip it out again, months or, a couple of years later and start over again. And that's a huge, huge advantage to how they can keep up with the technology, always, always pushing the envelope.
Yeah, it's a continual, focus is what's so important. And that's really key to keeping up with modern technology. So yeah, that's what's exciting to me, that we have such an intentional focus on this right now.
I love it. You're at the leading edge and always wanting to stay there.
Exactly.
Fun place to be. This has been a great discussion, Rachel. I want to close with a question that I ask all of our Pause for Payments guests, and that would be, if you were giving career advice to the rising stars in our audience, what pearls of wisdom would you share?
I would share, be persistent about your career path. Really socialize that with those around you, and be intentional about taking those next steps. It's easy to fall into the pattern of letting your career happen to you instead of you driving your career and intentionally taking steps. And every step won't fall in the exact perfect pattern that you want it to be, and that's okay. But when you have an intention, when you have a vision, when you progress along being intentional about the next steps, it makes a significant impact. And that's the biggest thing I would advise.
Yeah, I love that. It's like the old adage that without a map and a destination, you don't know when and how you'll get there, right? You need that destination so that you can navigate towards it continuously. and being persistent about it, being intentional about it, socializing it with others so that they know that's where you're intending to go is all part of the journey of making progress towards that end goal. Fantastic. Rachel, this has been a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with our audience today, all the women around the world of payments. And it's been fantastic to learn about technology as a career because it's so important now more than ever to get women into tech careers, whether they're coming from a math or a STEM background. I've seen women get into technology who come from a social sciences background, and that's another great perspective to bring to technology. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
This has been great. Thank you to everybody today for listening. I encourage you to join us online for the many other Pause for Payments webinars that we host with inspirational leaders like Rachel from around the world of payments.